Now I'm going to discuss the introduction part to the constitutional law. Everybody is aware about the Constitution of India, which is the supreme document of our country, which gives us the sets, the rules and regulations on which the country has to work. So, if I take an example, for a school to function properly, there are a set of rules and regulations that are followed. For any institution or a school to work properly, there have to be some rules and regulations that have to be followed. These rules includes discipline, presented curriculum, a body which regulates the students' affair. Without the rules and regulations, no school or no college would be able to function. Okay, because there would be complete chaos. The people, the teachers, the students, the staff, they would not know on what basis they have to work, what are the guidelines on which they have to work. Similarly, for a country to function properly, there are certain rules and regulations that have to be followed. The constitution has been derived from the Latin word constitutio. This is considered as finding and unifying force of a country, as it consists of certain rules and regulations for the functioning of our country. The unifying force which comprises of all the rules and regulations which are required for the functioning of our country. You see how important and how big, larger than life it is, that it contains the sets of rules and regulations on which our country works, on which our country is being regulated. It is considered as the supreme law of the land along with the set of rules and regulations. It is considered as the supreme law. Constitution is above everything. Constitution is above all the laws of our country, and the rules and regulations which are presented in the Constitution are regarded as above any other law or any other rule in a country. It also contains the rights and duties of the citizens. This establishes the state, the relationship between the state and its citizens, because it gives rights to the citizens, at the same time it imposes duties on its citizens, and this is how it establishes a relationship between the state and its citizens. There are two types of constitution, okay? There is a written constitution and an unwritten constitution. Now, what is a written constitution? A written constitution contains of the rules and regulations of a country in a single or more documents. So, where the rules and regulations are printed and in a textbook form, they are present there in one document or in more than one document, but they are printed and published and present in a textbook or a notebook form. There are which are the countries which have adopted written constitution? India is one, United States of America is another, and there are various others which have adopted written constitution. Second is the unwritten constitution. An unwritten constitution does not contain one single document that bears the rules and regulations of a country. So there is no one single document in which all the rules and regulations are present. The countries that have adopted unwritten constitution have the provisions in the form of established principles, treaties and conventions. How their country functions on the basis of the principles, the treaties and the conventions and the rules and regulations which they form, which they keep forming and changing time to time. So there are no fixed set of rules and regulations on which they will function. Which are the countries which have adopted unwritten constitution? United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand. These are some of the countries which have adopted unwritten constitution. Why is the constitution called the supreme document of our country? Okay, I have just previously told you that it is the supreme document of the country. Why? The constitution is referred to the supreme document of the country because there is nobody above the constitution. There is nobody, there is no power, there is no law, there is no rule above the Constitution of India. Whatever is written in the Constitution of India stands above everything else in our country. This includes both the state and its citizens. On the other hand, the Constitution of a country is the original of origin of all other laws of the country. The basis, the framework is provided in the constitution, and within that framework all the other laws in the country have to be framed. Any law which does not abide with the rules and regulations of the Constitution of India is said to be null and void. It has no sanctity, it is just null and void. It will have no life because it is beyond the rules and regulations, beyond the framework of our Constitution. No law can be formulated in the contravention to the provisions of the Constitution. The Constitution defines the three powers of the three organs of our country. We know that our country functions on the basis of three organs: the legislature, who legislates; the executive, who executes; and there is judiciary. We have an independent judiciary which keeps check on everything. The legislature has the power to make the new laws of our country and is controlled by the Constitution. Even the legislators who have the freedom to make laws in our country are also under the governance of the Constitution. They just cannot make any law which they want. They have to be under a constant check in the framework of the Constitution, and only those laws can be framed which do not stand in contradiction to the provisions of our Constitution. Any law framed, any rule and regulation framed which stands in contradiction to the provisions of our Constitution is considered to be invalid. Therefore, unless the country is in conformity with the Constitution, unless the law is not in conformity with the Constitution, it cannot exist. Let's discuss some of the important points which are related to the making of our Constitution of India. The Constitution of India was adopted on 26th November 1949 and came into force on 26th January 1950, which we all know is also celebrated as a Republic Day. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution. Please try to remember these dates and the names and the articles, the number of articles which I am going to tell you, because it may be also asked in your general knowledge based questions. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution. According to Article 393, the Constitution is to be referred as the Constitution of India. The Constitution of India originally consisted of 393 articles, 22 parts and 8 schedules, but now after so many amendments, now the Constitution of India contains 448 articles, 25 parts, 12 schedules, and till date it has got 98 amendments. Please remember this, try to memorize this, that previously our Constitution had 393 articles, now at present our Constitution is having 448 articles. Our Constitution also has a preamble. What is a preamble? So preamble is an introduction to the document which states the purpose of the document. So when I talk about the Constitution, preamble of the Constitution, it is basically the introduction to the Constitution. Before going further to read the whole Constitution, we refer to the preamble, which gives us a brief introduction about our Constitution. The Indian Constitution is written and is considered to be the lengthiest constitution of the world. The Constituent Assembly, which first met on December 9, 1946, took 2 years, 11 months and 18 days to come up with a final draft. Okay, so remember this, what time the Constitution of India took to build up? It took 2 years, 11 months and 18 days to come up with a final constitution. The Indian Constitution grows with times and adapts itself to the need of the society. Therefore, it requires constant amending of the Constitution. Now, Constitution which was framed back in 1950, there were situations which were unforeseen, which could take place as the society would develop and as the country would evolve. So the Constitution has been given a power to amend itself that when new provisions are required, new provisions can be added in our constitution so that the constitution also grows when the country grows. The Constitution of India has provisions for its own amendment. However, the amendment power of the Constitution is restricted to a certain extent, thereby making it partly flexible and partly rigid. But you cannot amend the basic structure of the Constitution. You can amend some parts of the Constitution, but you cannot amend each and every part of the Constitution. Therefore, it is said that the Indian Constitution is partly flexible because it gives you powers to amend itself. It is partly rigid. It also at the same time restricts you from fully amending it. The Constitution of India provides for a parliamentary system of government which contains, there is a parliamentary system of government in India which is provided to us by the Constitution. There is a union at the center and then there is a state. The Indian Constitution defines the powers between the union. There is a union government which is at the center, and then for each state we have a state government. It also contains provisions for limiting the powers of the same. The powers of the union and the powers of the state government have been freely given to them, and also the provisions for limiting their powers have been given. And also there has been a clear distinction that the state would not interfere with the union and the union every time would not interfere with the state government. They have got independency to work on their own. It provides a set of fundamental rights which is in the part 3 and fundamental duties which is in the part 4 of the citizens of our country. Apart from union and the states, the Constitution of India also contains a provision for union territories as well. Okay, so union has to be the powers of the union are given to them and the states are given to them, and the governments which function for the union territories, even their powers and authorities have been defined in the Constitution. The Indian Constitution is called the bag of borrowings. Why it is called the bag of borrowings? Because it is borrowed, it has borrowed various features of the Constitution from various other countries. Different countries, we have borrowed different set of rules and set of regulations which we have borrowed from countries all over the world, and that is how we came up with the lengthiest constitution of the world, which is referred to as the Constitution of India.